This is Doug DeMuro, and today I want to talk about the 5 cars that I am most excited for in 2023. The 5 cars coming out next year that I'm most excited for, and the 5 cars that I'm not really all that excited for next year. I'm sure will upset some people. Let's get started. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, which is my enthusiast car auction website for cool cars from the modern era with free listings. You can list your cool car for free and auction it on Cars and Bids. And we've had some great sales recently, including this Tesla Model X Plaid, which sold for over $124,000, this fantastic Porsche Cayman GT4, which sold for $131,000, and this wonderful Tesla Model Y Performance, which brought $57,500. If you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car from the modern era, the 1980s to now, Cars and Bids is the place to do it. With daily auctions and great selection, check it out at carsandbids.com. Okay, so the 5 cars that I am most excited about next year. I'm not exactly sure how to rank this. These are very different cars, so I'll just get started and just list them. First off, cars that I'm most excited about next year. I'll get to least excited next. Most excited, the Chevy Silverado EV. I have loved so far this current crop of electric pickup trucks and SUVs. Rivian R1T and R1S are fantastic. The Ford F-150 Lightning is amazing, and I love the Hummer EV. A lot of people don't like that vehicle, but I love it. I think it's cool as hell. It drives amazing. The tech is great. It's a convertible. It's so cool. There's so many great things about it. But the design of it is a little in your face. The Hummer brand is a little in your face. And I like the concept of the Silverado EV, which kind of brings the good things about the Hummer EV to a less expensive, more reasonable, more like everyman brand in Chevrolet, a bit more like democratized, basically, like less expensive, just a more rational and reasonable version of this truck. It's not going to have the same crazy power or the removable roof or any of that stuff, but they're going to come out with like a work truck model of this. And it's also not quite as like work trucky as a base model Ford Lightning. It seems to be a little bit more lifestyle, but still, it seems like a great vehicle. The Hummer EV is an awesome truck, and I think bringing that down to a scale that's more affordable and can be a little bit more widespread is going to be great. And I think this new world of electric trucks is fantastic. Now, we all know that towing payload kind of becomes an issue with electric pickups, but for most people who don't use them that way, and most people don't, an electric pickup truck is pretty cool, and I actually think the Hummer EV is the best electric pickup truck I've driven, and so I think that a more affordable, more rational one will probably be even better, but we'll see. Okay, next up, I am incredibly excited about the Volkswagen ID Buzz. This is Volkswagen's electric van. Basically, it's them reviving the Volkswagen Bus, but they're now calling it the Buzz because it's electric, which is a cool idea. I am so excited for this thing. I did a video review where I poked around when I couldn't drive it yet, but I kind of poked around it and showed it off maybe like a year ago, and it seems so cool. It just seems like one of the very coolest vehicles that is coming. It's like Volkswagen, which has kind of lagged behind a lot of automotive trends in the last couple years with kind of also ran cars like the Jetta and the Atlas. They're just not that great. And then they come out with this and like hit everything that every enthusiast and every person buying with emotion wants from their car. And I just can't wait. It seems both practical and cool, and it's electric. The stats seem great, and I can't wait for this car to come out apparently towards the end of the summer, late summer, fall of 2023. I think it's going to be a really, really, really cool van, and I'm so excited to have Volkswagen back in the van space and with such a great vehicle. They could have just brought us a boring van like the Transporter they sell in Europe, but they're coming with like an actually cool and exciting vehicle, which is how people remember Volkswagen vans from their youth. Okay, next one, another car I am excited about coming out next year is, this will surprise you, the BMW XM crossover. Now I want to get this, I want to make it clear, I find this car just as heinously ugly as everybody else. It looks ridiculous, absolutely hideous vehicle. But I also thought that about the BMW iX, which is like their current luxury electric SUV. And then I really liked that car. The interior is amazing, really high quality. The tech is fantastic. The driving experience is great. The performance is great. The materials, everything they used in the car is really nice stuff. And so that kind of won me over. And now when I see iXs on the road, I look at them and I think, I kind of want that. And so the XM is like that. It's ugly, but I bet it's going to also have the same great materials and everything. And the XM has performance 640 horsepower, which will put it as a rival with the Cayenne Turbo S and the Lamborghini Urus. Just absolutely massive power. And I'm really pumped for that vehicle. I think it'll be great and ugly, but great is my guess, just based on how much I've liked the other electric BMW models so far. Okay, next up, this is an obvious one, cars I'm most excited for next year, the new Chevy Corvette Z06. I should be driving this car in the next couple of weeks. A few people already have driven it. It's an amazingly cool car. From what I have seen, the reviews have been tremendously positive, and it just seems so cool. And I love the C8 Corvette. So many car journalists have this take of like, oh, the C8 is not good enough. It's just a bunch of like wanting to be contrarian because the C8 is so widely loved. I am willing to openly admit I think the C8 is amazing. I think it looks cool. The transmission is awesome. The styling is good. It is finally shedding the image of old Corvette models. And I think the performance of the regular C8 is already incredible, and I think bringing on the Z06, it just seems like an incredible evolution of performance of the car that already exists. I think they timed it right. I think it looks great. I think the numbers are great. I think there's almost nothing bad to say about the new C8 Z06, and I can't wait to get behind the wheel and see how it goes. Should be sometime in December. And by the way, the reason I mentioned this car is coming out next year is because I think the first deliveries are early next year. Even though people are already driving it, it's kind of already slightly going in production at the end of this year. I think deliveries won't start until next year, and I think that's one of the most exciting cars. C8 was amazing. Z06 seems even cooler. Okay, last car in the 5 cars that I am most excited about for next year, the Tesla Cybertruck. First off, let's put a big asterisk on this whole thing because who knows if this is even coming next year. I was at the LA Auto Show that night that Tesla announced this car. They didn't do it at the auto show, but it was the same, it was to coincide. And it was when Elon Musk broke the glass in the windows of the Cybertruck. That was, I believe, the fall of 2019. And he said it would be out in 20 or 21, and obviously COVID happened, but General Motors got their Hummer EV out when they said they would. Rivian more or less got the R1T out when they said they would. And the Cybertruck is like 2.5 years late. And I hope it comes out in 23. Frankly, I hope for Tesla's sake it comes out in 23, because Tesla has been the big innovator and kind of the first to the market for a lot of vehicles for a long time, and they are not first with this. We already have the Hummer EV, the Rivian R1T, the Ford Lightning, the Silverado EV is coming out, the GMC Sierra EV is coming out. This is not novel anymore. Tesla used to be able to just beat everybody to the punch. They're not doing that with this car. And so they're actually going to be last. And so I hope for Tesla's sake they get it out soon. To try not to be too far behind the competition, and it's going to be interesting. And I think it's horribly ugly, but I think it's going to be interesting. And so I'm kind of curious to see what it's like. And I'm eager to see what impact it will have on the world also. Now that there's already a bunch of trucks, will this come in and totally change the game? Or will it be like, nah, it's late, it's not as good? We'll find that out hopefully in 23. Tesla insists it'll be 23, but they also insisted it would be 22 and 21. And the brand has a history of missing their deadlines. So we'll see what happens. Okay, vehicles that I am not excited for next year, and there are a few. Again, not in order, but just sort of the order that I thought of them, which may be the order. Number one vehicle, or a vehicle that I am not excited about next year, is the Ferrari SUV, the Purosangue. Everybody's gonna have trouble with that. Honestly, my issue, I don't have a problem with Ferrari making an SUV. I'm not one of those annoying purists, but I'm just disappointed this is what they came out with. The Mercedes ML came out in 98, the X5 came out in 2000. So the market was heading towards SUVs 25 years ago. Ferrari had that much time to think it over. Audi comes out with the Q7 in 07, Porsche Cayenne in 03. All these sort of start trickling out. Bentayga in 15. So then the luxury brands start showing up with SUVs. And Ferrari still, after all this time, they come out with this. I think it's not that I think it's ugly, it's that I think it's derivative. It just looks like a chubby Ferrari Roma. I think one of the biggest mistakes Ferrari ever made was ditching Pininfarina to design their cars. And I think that this SUV just looks like a bulked up regular Ferrari sports car, and that is a mistake. Porsche discovered that was a mistake with the original Cayenne. They tried to make it look like a big 996, and everybody thought it was ugly when it first came out. And Lamborghini has made that mistake with the Urus. They've taken the design cues from their sports cars, they've applied it to an SUV. I think the Urus is the ugliest SUV on the market, and I think what these automakers realize in their second generation is we shouldn't make our sports car look like an SUV. We should take some of the things that make our design ethos work and apply it to an SUV. And the second generation Cayenne, which came out for 2011, looked so much better than the original one, and it looked great because they didn't try to turn a sports car into an SUV. And that's exactly what Ferrari's done here. And I just think the look of it is really not attractive at all and really kind of dull. It's like kind of derivative and dull. And I think it's sad that after this long of mulling it over an SUV, what we get from Ferrari is not like the Ferrari of SUVs. It just sort of looks kind of blah, but I guess we'll see how it drives. Okay, next up, another car I'm not incredibly looking forward to next year is the new Ford Mustang, which surprises me because I'm a Mustang guy. I've never owned one, but I love the Mustang. The current GT350 is one of my very favorite cars. Love the GT500. Loved the old Mustang in general, honestly. I had one of the great drives of my life, driving one through back roads in Pennsylvania on a beautiful sunny day, and I really like Mustangs generally, but the new one isn't new enough. It just isn't. In 05, when the Mustang came out, the retro one, to get rid of the new edge design, it was like the craziest thing in the world. And then honestly, even the next generation after that, 2010 or 11 or whatever, that was a big change too. And it was especially a big improvement, interior, powertrains, technology. This new one just seems like a minor evolution. It seems like way too small of an upgrade. The powertrains don't really change. The look doesn't really change. The interior doesn't really change that much either. The car is just not all that different from the old one. And that's fine. The old Mustang was cool, but I was just kind of hoping for something like make a splash, something big, something crazy. And that's not what's really happened with the new Mustang. And so I'm looking forward to it in a sense. I'm excited to drive it, but I'm not looking forward to it like I was. Okay, next up, cars that I'm not looking forward to. Here's one you may not have heard of, or if you have, you've probably forgotten about. The Alfa Romeo Tonale, which everybody I know is calling the toenail. The Alfa Romeo Tonale. So here's the deal with this. This is Alfa's small crossover. They've had a mid-size crossover, the Stelvio. They've had that out for like 6 or 7 years now. And they announced that they were going to come out with a smaller crossover in 2019, early 2019. And that was an obvious move. Everybody's like, yeah, of course you are. Everybody's got a midsize and a small, like an X5 or an X3. It makes sense. Well, that was 3.5 years ago, and the Tonale is still not on the market. It's just taken too long. And so who has a 3.5-year lead time for a compact crossover? I feel like Rivian didn't have that, and they built an entire brand and factory and new vehicle from the ground up. Alfa's got to shorten an existing crossover. It took them 3.5 years. But anyway, the result of this is that it's going to be outdated. And I haven't driven this car yet. I haven't been in it, haven't done anything with it. But that's clear from just looking at the powertrains. Alfa says they're going to have a turbo 4-cylinder with about 256 horsepower, which seems okay, light on power compared to the segment. But the funny one is they're also going to come out with a plug-in hybrid that will get 30 miles of pure electric before the gas engine kicks in. Give me a break. The Porsche Macan is purportedly coming out with a full electric model that will do 300 miles of full electric. And the Alfa Tonale is going to come out with a 30-mile plug-in hybrid. That kind of thing was happening back in 2019 when they first announced it. There were a lot of these like low mileage plug-in hybrids. But that world is done. Everybody is committing to full electric and going crazy. The plug-in hybrid X5 that only went 15 miles, that's gone. BMW's got full electric SUVs that do 300 miles of range. And so does everybody now. And Mercedes and Alfa's got this thing with a 30-mile plug-in range and a 3.5-year lead time. Not looking forward to it. Okay, next up, another vehicle I'm not looking forward to next year. This is maybe the biggest actually, the Lexus RZ, which is a small Lexus crossover that will be fully electric. The main reason I'm not looking forward to this, in addition to the fact that it's going to be dull, a lot of cars are dull. That doesn't completely disqualify them. But the main reason I'm not looking forward to this is because the car it is based on, the Toyota BZ4X, is not particularly compelling. Toyota has gone kicking and screaming into the electric car world. And the vehicles they have finally come out with, mainly just the BZ4X, is just not all that competitive. It looks weird, the range is not great, the tech is not great, the price point is not great, the name is not great, at least the Lexus RZ has a normal name. But I think the result of this is like it wasn't a good car when it was a Toyota, and I don't think it's going to be a great car when they turn into a Lexus. Toyota's committed hard on like the RAV4 and their bread and butter cars, and they still do a great job with those. That's a great car, the Lexus version, the NX is a great car. But Toyota's beginning of electric is not really all that appealing, and I'm not looking forward to the RZ. Now, I know it's not supposed to appeal to enthusiasts, but I think even to non-enthusiasts, it's not a particularly appealing car. If it's anything like the BZ4X, it's not going to be compelling in terms of price point, range, and performance. And that's kind of what people are looking at, and there are a lot of competitors. Toyota doesn't just skate by because they're Toyota, like they have in some segments for a long time. Here, there's a lot of other vehicles. Reliability is not going to be Toyota's big thing, since electric cars in general are more reliable. And I think that this car is not particularly appealing, so I'm not really looking forward to it, but we'll see what happens. And on the subject of Toyota, the last car that I am not looking forward to next year, the Toyota Crown, which is, interestingly, a raised sedan. So it's a sedan that is intended to look like an SUV. The intent is to replace the Toyota Avalon, which is not really selling anymore. Its buyers are aging out. To replace that with like something that is both electric and an SUV, but still a big sedan. So they can get the electric SUV crowd, but they can also get the big sedan crowd. The truth is, there is nobody who wants to combine all of this in one vehicle. Volvo tried this. They made an S60 sedan cross-country, failed in like 2 years. Subaru tried this. They made an Outback sedan, which was like an SUV sedan. That lasted for a few generations, but I think that's the kind of thing only Subaru can pull off, and even that never sold anywhere close to what the wagon did, and it too failed after, you know, not huge sales for a longer period. This is not going to work for Toyota either. It's a weird thing. The big sedan market is dead, so nobody wants a big sedan to begin with. But does anyone want an expensive one that's been jacked up like an SUV and electrified? The whole thing is really dubious. And I think that as a result, this is kind of a weird car in a dying segment with some weird updates to try to make it relevant. And I don't think it's really going to be successful. So I'm not really looking forward to that either. I am looking forward to the quirkiness of it and to kind of getting behind the wheel and seeing just how weird that weird vehicle is. So there you go. Those are the 5 cars that I am looking forward to next year and the 5 cars that I am not. I did miss a few cars on this list, a few cars that I'm only partially looking forward to. And there's also some stuff that doesn't come out next year, but rather in 24. The Cadillac Celestiq is a good example. They're saying 24 for that. I am looking forward to that, but I'll have that probably in next year's video. So there you go. 5 exciting and not so exciting future cars coming next year.